self-pity, it's like a curse for me. It doesn't give me any meaning, or I can't find any strength from something like that. And being sad or something like that, it's not giving me any strength. And I'm always trying to find things that help me with my life, not hold me back. When I've seen these young guys that I knew they don't have the tools that I have and the experience that I have for my life, I said to them from the beginning, you can cry, you can break, no problem, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that's it. You can do it every day, you can do it twice a day, no problem. But most of the day, you care about the people that we are fighting to see again, because they don't know what's happening with us. One of my wishes and my dreams that I had one phone call and just to say my family, I'm okay. Don't worry. Because I knew they don't know what's happening with me. So they are very worried about me because I knew they're okay. That's how I look at that.
So that's Eli Sharabi. His book, Hostage, is coming out tomorrow, and he will be in Atlanta on Saturday for an event at the JCC. I'm trying to get him on the program before that. So if we're successful at that, I'll let you know. But he was one of the hostages, and he was older than a lot of the hostages. I mean, he was kind of he looks like a guy that's in his 40s, something like that. He was married to a British citizen, and his wife and both of his children had British passports. And in fact, they were murdered in their safe room with their British passports in their hand, hoping that by having the British passports that might, let that evil pass over them. And on October 7th, it's kind of like their 9/11 in that prior to 9/11, people thought, oh, just cooperate with the hijackers. You'll just end up in the wrong place, but you won't be dead. And 9/11 changed everything. So prior to October 7th, the idea was everybody has a safe house in their home in Israel, and probably in other places around the region too. But the idea was that if they take you, they're just going to kidnap you. They're not going to kill you. They're going to give you back. And if you let them take the man of the family, okay, the idea was they would leave your family alone. So he thought, because that's the way it had been in the past, he thought, I'll let them take me. My wife and children will be in the safe room, and they'll be safe because they're British citizens. And they were murdered. And he was in captivity for 491 days. And this advice is very good advice for anybody, okay? Be humble. You can feel sorry for yourself for 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. But then you have to get back on track, and you got to think about the people that you want to get home to. I'm sure my father went through that when he was a POW. I'm sure that anybody that's been in captivity, that's the difference between people that survive and don't survive. And I don't mean because they get killed, don't survive. You can't control that. But what you can control is if you give up wanting to live or not. And he did not give up wanting to live. And he tells the story about coming through, and he wants to see his wife and children, and they say, oh, your mother and sister are here. And he goes, but I want to see my wife and children. They'll explain it to you. Well, then he knew at that moment what the situation was, that his wife and children were dead. And then he started questioning himself. Oh, if I had stayed behind and fought. But then you know what would have happened? He would have been killed too, and there would have been nobody to tell their story. Mr. Bibas has also posted something today about his family, that everything about him was he wanted to be a husband and father. And now his wife and children have been murdered. And he's in the process of figuring out how he's going to live his next life. And look, I know there are horrible stories throughout. And I have great compassion for the Palestinian people who are finally, according to the Wall Street Journal and others, are finally saying to Hamas, and this is probably why they're dealing, is that we don't want you anymore. We want you to negotiate for peace. Now, Hamas has told the Trump administration that they're going to let the hostages go. And the Trump administration has asked Israel to back behind certain lines. And Israel has said they will not do anything other than defensive. If they get attacked, they're going to respond, but they're not doing any new missions. And that we're going to try to work towards getting the hostages out. There's envoys. There's a couple of things Hamas wants. They think this is a negotiation. And maybe there might be something. They want to keep their weapons, basically, is what it is. And so we'll see what happens with that. We've got the envoy going over there. But by tomorrow, hopefully, maybe the next day, we will have an actual peace agreement that will be in force and that will start. And you know, people may sit there and say, oh, they'll never keep it. Or if you're pro-Palestinian, pro-terrorist, you think that Israel will not take it. But you got to try. You cannot just assume that nobody's going to do it. You know, because the world's a crazy place right now. And, you know, I am really, really limiting my time on social media. I'm only really on while I'm on the show, prepping for the show while I'm on the show. The rest of the time, I don't want to be on it because there's a lot of bad stuff out there. But I want you to take a moment and just kind of look at some videos, if you can stomach them, of these protests that have been going on over the last few days. The pro-Palestinian or so-called pro-Palestinian, they're tearing up things. They're screaming at people. They're throwing at people. They're tearing down. They were asked after the Manchester synagogue was attacked to please refrain from protesting for a day, but they didn't do that. And even the Muslim Home Secretary of the UK said that that was wrong. Okay, that they were asked to go easy for a day, and they would not do it. And there's destruction behind, and there's a lot of cleanup, and there are arrests. In the UK, in Paris, in New York, those were followed by pro-Israel protests that were same large numbers of people, but there was singing, there was flag waving, there was peace. There were people not being arrested, people not pushing people over. It was a real protest. It wasn't a riot. And, you know, how many times do you have to see that before you see that the cause you're supporting, if you're pro-Palestinian, doesn't want peace? Now, I think Hamas has been put in a box. Qatar today has told Al Jazeera they have to change, and they control Al Jazeera. They have to change their editorial presentation. And that's a positive thing. I mean, there's a movement going on that we have not seen in the Middle East ever. Okay, and I'm excited about that. Now, there's some other things going on in our country. Okay, over the weekend, and this hardly got any coverage, a major leftist statewide candidate in Virginia has been exposed for sending texts to a political opponent who is a Republican, explicitly hoping for the death of another conservative political opponent, along with the deaths of that opponent's young children. He wrote down that the pain of those deaths might promote his own agenda, which would be worth it in his estimation. The candidate is now condemning his current conservative opponent for noticing this information. Now, why somebody would put in a text message that kind of information, I don't understand why you would even have a phone call about it, but that you would put in a text message that you'd like to see your opponent killed and your opponent's children killed, and maybe that would make them change their mind. That's sick, okay? And the assassin against Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh got 8 years instead of 30 years. And the judge cited because they're going through transition, and also, you know, they did turn themselves in. They did not actually try to kill Kavanaugh, but there's pretty clear guidelines, sentencing guidelines on trying to kill, you know, a Supreme Court justice or an elected official or the president, and they want to really discourage that. But this kid just got 8 years. 4 prominent universities are being pressured into reversing their attempt to shut down a conservative event commemorating the second anniversary of the October 7th massacre of Jews, because the school said they were worried about security. They were referring, of course, to the violent Islamist leftist coalition pro-Hamas mob, which is engaged in harassment, threats, and violence. So all those examples came from Guy Benson, who's a really fair writer and a terrific person. But folks, it's time to calm down the rhetoric. And just to kind of bring it closer to home, over the weekend they had the Carter Lewis dinner, which used to be the Jefferson Jackson dinner. And they had J.B. Pritzker speak there, which I don't know why they're bringing him in. He doesn't know anything about Georgia. And we don't need people like him talking about Georgia. But they encourage people to be harder on Trump, fight harder, do this, do that. Fact of the matter is, if you bought a ticket to a dinner like that, you're an activist. Okay, you're not a regular Democrat voter. Same thing to when you go to a GOP dinner on my side. You're an activist. You're not a regular voter. Regular voters want people to get along and reduce the rhetoric. But they're just not willing to do it. They're just not willing to do it. Let's go to the phones now and talk to Chad in Oakwood. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
Good morning. I'd like to remind everybody, once you turn 18, you're a grown man and a woman. It don't matter if you're in college or not. Number two, how much is the cartel lost since Trump's been in there?
I'm sure a lot.
He ain't taking no crap. He ain't taking no crap from nobody. I'm saying you got to watch the videos, and he's bombing the crap out of them. And that's what we need to protect our country.
No, I think you're right. I think he's being very serious. There's going to be peace in the Middle East this week. I think that we're going to have a lot of other opportunities. And, things are getting better, but there's a lot of turmoil around it. And so what I would say, Chad, is that you got to read different things or turn it off altogether and just go with your gut in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of bad information out there. We'll be back.
Todd Starnes.
But if you want to talk about problems, talk about Joe Biden, who literally funded Iran's nuclear program.
It's the Todd Starnes Show, weekdays noon till 3 on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
At Jackson EMC, innovation is an ongoing cycle, a process without a beginning or an end, where one idea leads to the next. Solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes, automated switch technology. What we do as an industry is vital. We keep communities powered, so we must always have an eye on the future. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
Does your office technology slow your team down? Nothing is more frustrating than printers that jam, copiers that won't connect, and service providers that don't follow through. You and your team deserve technology that works. I'm Matt Nick, president of Duplicating Products, and for over 50 years, we've helped North Georgia offices eliminate bottlenecks, reduce downtime, and get reliable support for office technology. Our promise, we do what we say we will do. If you're tired of office equipment headaches, it's time for a change. Visit us today at duplicatingproducts.com.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock is here with tips to help protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication on your accounts, report phishing, and update your software on all your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, LifeLock is your best choice. LifeLock not only alerts you to suspicious uses of your personal information, but also fixes identity theft, guaranteed, or your money back. So stay smart, stay safe, and stay protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com. Use the promo code BECK. Terms do apply.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Hall County School District celebrates their students' overall SAT scores, surpassing state and national averages. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
But let me ask you, because you say this is a Republican shutdown, but it's Democratic senators who are withholding their votes on what is called a clean resolution. That means no strings attached, which is something, quite frankly, Leader, that you and other Democrats have advocated for in the past. Take a look.
You do not use the threat of shutting down government to try to advance your policy agenda.
First thing that the House has to do is pass a clean 6-week CR.
A continuing resolution that is at the fiscal year 2023 levels is the only way forward.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That is, using their own words. I mean, 2023, 2024, 2025, 13 times they voted on this continuing resolution. I mean, there's maybe $9 billion of rescissions that were done that are different in this one than the other one, but that's nothing. That's a rounding error. And these people supported this in the past. Okay, so people, they have painted themselves in the corner. And quite frankly, Hakeem Jeffries is a nothing right now. And I'm not saying that to be personal. I'm saying the House has already voted. The House has voted on this. He lost on the House side. Okay, on the Senate side is where we need to bring people over. And Chuck Schumer needs to be the guy he was just 6 months ago. And let's get this going, because John Thune has already said, yes, we will negotiate these items that you were concerned about. And we will talk about them. Now, negotiate doesn't mean you get what you want. And I think the people are responding poorly. Now, I wanted to remind you of this, and I did this on the Georgia Gang. But there's people out there, complaining about not having any money. There's events that are being canceled that theoretically, supposedly they were waiting for the money. Let's just be very honest here. If you've been planning an event for 6 months and your whole event is contingent on whether you get money a week before, that's not very good planning. So I don't believe it. Okay, I don't believe that if you have some event you've planned for 6 months that you weren't raising money or accruing money all the way through that process, number one. Number two, every federal employee, every military person, every person that gets a federal paycheck got one, their regular paycheck on either the 30th or the 1st in full. So there's not a single federal employee, a single person that works for the government, a single military person that's gone without a paycheck yet. Okay, I'm not saying it won't happen, but if you you got your paycheck to pay your bills at the first of the month. I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic. What I'm saying is you're not telling the truth. Now, when it gets to the 15th of the month, if we are still in this mess, I know that there are people that plan to pay certain things with certain paychecks, and it could present a problem. But right now, we have a real opportunity. It's the 6th of October. We have 9 more days that if we can get this settled, all they got to do is flip a switch, get everything back to normal. So Democrats, we need 4 more of you. Because then if we get 4 more of you, then Rand Paul will come back over. So we need 4 more of you to vote. And I think they will be voting again today. And folks, you need to be lighting up Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff's office, both in Washington and in Atlanta, where their offices are. You need to be lighting it up with phone calls, because they should be voting with the Republicans on this. They got 50% votes from Republicans. Both of them did. Maybe 48 for one or 49 for one. The other one, though, was 49.6 or 49.4 Republicans voted against, and 50.6 Democrats voted for, okay, for Jon Ossoff. So he needs to, if he wants to win this election, he needs to be able to vote with Republicans on this. Now, maybe he doesn't want to win. And, I've been kind of trolling John, because I told him that he needed, he's given Trump more power, not less power. Okay. I told him that I put a little tweet out this morning that people that went to that Carter Lewis dinner, they're not your regular folks. They may be the people giving your money, but they're not the average voter. The average voter wants you to get back to work. And then finally, he needs some opposition. Ruel Roman, you threw your hat in the ring for governor, you're a state rep. You need to run against Jon Ossoff. He needs a challenger like you. You're a far left progressive. And he needs to have to justify his positions to somebody like you. Letting him run without any opposition is just letting him do nothing but raise money and not be accountable to Democrats, because it's a Democrat primary initially, about the things he's done. I'm just saying, folks, you have got to light up the two senators' offices from Georgia, and then pull out a map of Trump in 2024 and find out where there are Democrat senators, and contact your friends and neighbors that live in that state and tell them to light them up too. We'll be back.
This fall, give your lawn and food plots the winning edge with Limelight Pro. Now at Farmers Exchange in Cleveland. Limelight Pro is a premium, fast-acting pelletized lime that helps balance soil pH, unlock nutrients, and boost plant growth. Easy to spread, quick to work, and perfect for a fall application. Whether growing grass, gardens, or game plots, get the results you want with Limelight Pro. Farmers Exchange, your hometown partner for a stronger, greener season.
When I was a child, I saw my grandmother always going to church. She loved going to church. She found the strength that only God could provide. She found a spiritual hospital that met every need she had, whether it was physical or spiritual. She knew if she could get to church, God would welcome her and she would feel the arms of Jesus all around her. She understood when David wrote in the book of Psalms, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Psalms 122:1 says, "I was glad when he said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord." This is Mike Martin from Milton Martin Toyota, the oldest Toyota dealership in Georgia. Visit us at miltonmartintoyota.com or exit 17 off 985 Gainesville.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday night at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. President Trump forced to Plan B for Portland and saying a federal judge should be ashamed for blocking a National Guard deployment to protect federal ICE agents and buildings.
Portland is burning to the ground. You have agitators, insurrectionists.
With Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem warning of dangerous and unprecedented bounties being placed on the heads of federal officers. First Monday in October, the Supreme Court convenes with major Trump agenda issues to decide, including birthright citizenship. Another Senate vote about ending the government shutdown today. House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Fox.
You think of all the people who are being harmed by this. It begins with women, infants, and children. Their nutrition programs are being stopped, and veterans, health services, and all the rest. I think these Democrats in the Senate are going to feel the outcry, and I think they're going to fold and do the right thing, and we'll get the lights back on and get back to work for the people.
America is listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. Northeast Georgia Health System implementing artificial intelligence tools designed to reduce screen time for physicians and to increase time spent with their patients. WDUN's Hamilton Keener explains.
NGHS said it has trained nearly 480 clinicians in the use of DAX Copilot as part of its system-wide rollout. Now integrated with Dragon Copilot, DAX is embedded within the Epic electronic health record system used by NGHS. This integration allows the AI to automatically capture patient-clinician conversations and generate a draft clinical note directly in Epic.
Yeah, a resident of Pruitt Health Limestone in Gainesville received a game ball at UGA's homecoming Saturday. Melinda Adams shares that receiving the honor is especially sentimental as her father, Tommy Pierce, worked with the team under former head coach Wally Butts throughout her childhood.
It is a great honor to be receiving that, and I feel like it's something that I'm doing for my dad. Although he's passed away, he would be so proud of the fact that I had a game ball.
And for the first time in nearly a half century, the White County's city of Cleveland has a newly opened home for their fire department staff and equipment, as they had a grand opening ceremony Friday morning with the traditional push-in of fire trucks for their new facility on East Underwood Street. Details at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Monday greetings, North Georgia. Looks like we're going to see lots of cloud cover today. Highs will be in the mid-70s this afternoon, so pleasant and dry. So really no issues expected. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Murrayville, 65 degrees. In Dawsonville and in Gainesville, 66. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
There's nothing like cool, crisp air of fall in North Georgia after a hot, humid summer. Conditioned Air Systems is here to get your HVAC system ready for the changing seasons. With regular maintenance that saves you money on your energy bill, and look no further for quick, reliable plumbing repairs or installation services. Conditioned Air Systems has been a trusted name in Northeast Georgia for over 45 years. Call us today at 1-800-AC-REPAIR.
Hey, Daddy, what's in a crawl space?
That's a good question, Annie. I'm Cody Lovin with Crawl Space Medic. Musty smells, dampness, and sagging insulation means your crawl space or basement might need some attention. Our team quickly finds and fixes moisture problems, updates moisture barriers, and resolves structural issues, ensuring your home stays dry and comfortable. Don't let your crawl space problems affect your comfort, air quality, or property value. Visit crawlspacemedic.com.
A healthy home starts from the ground up.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
I witness the enduring spirit of America's Navy, which propels every mission and lives on to every sailor who serves.
You know, I am loving that Melania Trump is doing more in this term. We're hearing her more. We're seeing her more. And I am loving that. Joining me right now is Representative Barry Loudermilk, and his new book, And Then They Prayed, is out. And wow, do we need that right now, Barry? Thank you for being with us.
Well, Martha, it's always a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about And Then They Prayed and what you wanted to accomplish with this book.
Look, we're going into our 250th year as a constitutional republic, which is far beyond any other government similar to ours has ever lasted. In fact, it was well beyond what any historian or theologian or jurist ever imagined that we could survive with a government that predominantly exists to protect the rights of the individual, and that the government exists at the will of the citizens. And so many people are concerned, and rightfully so, of how much longer can we exist as a nation? Can we go another 10 years, 20 years, or another 250? Well, my answer to that is yes. If we go back and look at what sustained us for the first 250 years, we just have to repeat that same thing. And part of that is just the acts of divine providence that have happened throughout our history as a result of prayer and faith. And our history books are chock full of incidences of God's divine intervention. Even George Washington, his first act as president of the United States, was to declare a national day of thanksgiving and prayer specifically for the many acts of divine providence of where God engaged during our war for independence. Benjamin Franklin brought up this same thing at the Constitutional Convention, where he said, all of us here have experienced many acts of God's divine providence in our favor. But most Americans probably can't name you 1, 2, or 3 of acts of divine providence. Now, there are a lot of books about those acts of providence during the period of the American Revolution, but that providence has continued on even until today. And so this book is a compilation of 14 stories, extremely well researched. It took me 10 years of research to, I wanted this to be as, factual with going to source material to document this. But it's 14 stories of God's acts of divine providence in our history as a nation from 1746 all the way up into the 20th century. In fact, there's evidence of it still today. I gave the very first copy of this book, I handed to President Trump during a meeting we had at the beginning of June. He called me to the White House. It was just he and I in the Oval Office with some of his staff. And we were there for a meeting, and first thing I did is I handed him this book, and I inscribed on the inside of it to someone who also has experienced an act of divine providence. And Martha, he looked at me when he read that, and he pointed to his right ear. And he said, if God hadn't have told me to turn my head at that exact moment, he's talking about the assassination attempt back in July of last year. He said, if God had not told me to turn my head at that moment, I wouldn't be sitting here today. And so, if we're going to preserve our nation to be a free and independent society that respects the rights of the individual, we've got to go back and acknowledge those things that have preserved us as a nation this far. And this is just an ability for Americans to get reunited with their true heritage, and it's written in story form. It's not a boring book. In fact, I've had several, Newt Gingrich and Glenn Beck, described it as a page turner. And so we wanted to write it in a way that was entertaining but factual.
Well, and I think what's so important too, and as my prayer life has matured, that you go from kind of a childlike way of praying where you're praying for stuff to being prayers of gratitude and thanksgiving and acknowledging. And when you shift your mind to starting to see what's good around you and what is divine providence around you, then you see more of it. What worries me today is we have, 1 billion young people in this world that have been really taught the wrong things, not only about prayer, but about history and about, other things that are happening. And of all people, Van Jones pointed this out on Bill Maher over the weekend, where he said, you've got 1 billion young people in this world that have been taught the wrong things. And I find that, concerning, but I also know through the providence of God that we can change these things, and we do it one person at a time, Barry.
That's right. And that's the history of our country. I was speaking back on July 4th. The church asked me to come and speak about this type of, about God's providence in our country. And even our founders understood to move forward, you have to look back. People wonder, how did they come up with this idea of this form of government? Well, if you really study our founders and what they did, they understood one scripture, which was in Ecclesiastes. It says, there's nothing new under the sun, that anything that will happen has already happened. I mean, this was written in 1000 BC, 1,000 years before Christ. But at that time, Solomon already saw that there's nothing that we're going to go through right now that somebody hasn't gone through in the past. And our founders went back and they quite often reference the scripture and the troubles that the nation of Israel faced as they were trying to establish themselves. And they went back and looked, what did they do to fix the problems? What did they do to become a nation? And a great example of that was during our debate for independence in Philadelphia in 1776. Benjamin Rush, one of the delegates there at the Constitution or the Second Continental Congress, was listening to both sides debate. And of course, John Adams had given just an incredible speech of liberty now and liberty forever. But John Dickinson of Pennsylvania, he was a patriot, but he was a realist. He had studied every nation that had tried to rebel against Great Britain and the terrible things that had happened to those nations. And so he was giving a speech. It's been named the Doomsday Story of America. But as he was listening to John Dickinson speak, Benjamin Rush leaned over to John Adams, and these are in his own words, his own writing. He said, I asked John Adams, do you believe that we can succeed in our quest for independence? And he said, John Adams said, yes, if we pray and we ask God to forgive us of our sins. Martha, what he was doing was quoting 2 Chronicles 7:14, which is, if my people will humble themselves and pray and ask forgiveness of the sins, I'll heal their land. John Adams was looking back at what had sustained and helped the nation of Israel to become a nation. We need to do the same things.
So tell me, how this can be applied, because you're in a cesspool right now in the United States Congress, and I believe that the average member of Congress really wants to do the right thing. I believe that because of things like social media and clicks and the crazy way that we get our information now, that there's a few people that are just like controlling everything. And what is it going to take to get your colleagues? Because I know you probably have bipartisan Bible study you go to or whatever it is that you're doing. How do we get these people to start putting America first? And I'm not talking about a Trump agenda. I'm talking about putting America first instead of these leaders that care more about themselves than they do about this country.
Well, and you're right. And that's one of the issues that we're facing is because media is going to go toward the loudest and the most controversial voices. That's what you're going to hear through most of the mainstream media on both sides. And right now you can see this playing out during this government shutdown. It is being driven by the loudest and most extreme voices on the left, because that's what's driving the influence on the other side. And so, the bill that they're shutting the government down over, most every Democrat voted for that exact same piece of legislation twice already in the last several months. But now those extreme voices who don't want to put Americans' interests first, because I think some of them are just driven by the attention they get, but I think some of them are driven by this extreme ideology. And this is kind of the core of what you were talking about a few minutes ago, is that America is inherently bad, that we have been the problem for years, is that putting America first means that you're putting down every other nation. I just believe if you're exceptional, then, which I believe Americans are. I believe we have an exceptional government. We've shown it time, and I believe in American ingenuity. I believe that we've led the entire world. That isn't a bad thing. But when you buy in that America is inherently evil and greedy, then that also drives your ideology. And I think we're seeing a combination of self-promotion as well as a strange ideology that has just evolved in the last couple of decades. I mean, if you go back and you look at even Democrat presidents, Bill Clinton would be considered an extremist on the right for them right now. I mean, he even called for clamping down the border and deportation of illegal immigrants. And if you go back and you look at John F. Kennedy, who said, "Don't ask what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country."
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. I mean, it's just exactly. I always refer to the Kennedy inaugural address because it was a very unfulfilled, fantastic blueprint for the way we ought to be. You know, it was unfulfilled because of his untimely death, but when he talked about, making sure we were strong in our own hemisphere before we entangled in other places, he was so right. He was so right. It's crazy. We have spent a really high price for cheap goods in China, and if we had spent more than a minute trying to develop the textile industry in Central and South America, we might be in a different place. Now, I want to ask you just one more question. I mean, obviously, Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff are part of the Georgia delegation, right? You've got Democrats and Republicans. Is there any movement at all to ask them about, supporting this CR?
There's a lot of pressure on them right now. I think you may see some movement. Now, I don't know. I don't have inside information, but just from what I'm hearing and seeing, you're going to have Democrats who are in these swing states, and they realize they are on the losing side of this argument. The American people are not with them on this. They're starting to feel the pressure. And this is driven by AOC threatening to challenge Chuck Schumer, right? Coming from the far left. And look, I don't think that Americans buy into this idea that we should shut down the government to allow the federal government to take money out of your pocket to give it to people who shouldn't be in this country to start with.
No.
I think that's a hard sell, and that's where we are. And when we get close to the 15th, that's when the next paycheck for our soldiers comes out.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah, that's exactly what I said earlier. We have this window of opportunity because everybody got a paycheck on the 1st, Right. And so we've got this window of opportunity. Barry, thank you so much for being with us today. It's at Then and Then They Prayed. We got a question from Jeannie. Is there going to be an audio version of this book?
Actually, we are working on the audio version. It'll be out it'll probably be out. We're trying to get it out later this year, but it'll more likely be at the beginning of next year. But you can also keep track of it, and thentheyprayed.com. There's direct links to purchase the books. In fact, Martha, we have surged in the last week to being an Amazon bestseller, Walmart bestseller, several bestsellers on retail outlets, including last week we hit the #1 book in the nation on political conservatism, prayer, and Christian inspiration. So God's really blessed us. Our goal is to get this book into as many hands as we can so people can get reconnected with their true heritage. So I just encourage you, and thentheyprayed.com. You can go there. You can get more information about the book as well as a link that'll take you direct to be able to purchase it.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Barry. Appreciate it very much.
All right. Thank you.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, Joey Summers is going to update us on an event he's having tomorrow night to commemorate October 7th. And at the top of the hour, we're going to talk to Greg Poole, who is running for Congress. We'll be back.
When it comes to where you get your news, what's important to you?
I want to hear news that doesn't take sides.
I want to hear clear reporting that's easy to understand.
Always here with the news you need. AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hey, it's Chuck Dowdle, and I'm looking for 25 Super Dog fans to go with me May 6th to Iceland with Colette and Peach State Bank and Trust. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to teach them how to call the dogs in Icelandic. we're going to see massive glaciers that sculpt mountains and valleys. We're going to see thundering waterfalls and plunging fjords. We're going to walk on a black volcanic sand beach, relax in the warm, mineral-rich water of the Sky Lagoon. And Colette has us covered, from arranging the flights, meals, hotels, and all the local experiences, allowing us to simply enjoy the journey. So call Colette at 800-581-8942 or visit WDUNtravels.com to learn more.
Let me show you the world. Come away with me.
Presented by Colette, Peach State Bank and Trust, and WDUN. Go Dogs!
While technology has certainly changed the way people do business, it hasn't changed the way we treat our customers. It's Mike Cormier, and at Hardy Chevrolet, we are as committed to excellent customer service as the Hardys were when they started the business here in Gainesville over 4 decades ago. When it's time for a new or used vehicle, remember what Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Brownsbridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
Clipper knows a thing or two about travel. Since 1957, when our founder traveled around the world on a Pan Am Clipper plane, we've served as a trusty co-pilot for commuters, travelers, and adventurers. Whether you're stopping for a quick fill-up before hitting the road or grabbing your favorite snacks and drinks on the way out of town, you'll never fly solo when you stop at a Clipper. We're the ultimate travel companion for wherever the road takes you. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, #NeverFlySolo.
Mark your calendars for a taste of the past and a vision for our future. On Thursday, October 9th, the Northeast Georgia History Center presents Taste of History 2025 at the Gainesville Civic Center. Our theme, Looking Back, Moving Forward, invites you to enjoy lunch, hear a discussion on our local heritage, and take a peek at upcoming History Center projects. To reserve a spot or learn about sponsorships, contact the History Center at negahc.org. Taste of History 2025, where community, history, and hope come together.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, fire destroys a mobile home along Waterwood Drive in Hall County Sunday afternoon. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. It is great to be here with you. Tomorrow is the second anniversary of the October 7th massacre in Israel, and Joey Sommer has been just a stalwart from the beginning of this in his keeping up of a memorial remembering the hostages. And he is with us right now. Joey, how are you?
Hey, Martha, how are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I can't believe it's been 2 years. I'm listening to Eli Sharabi's story. He's doing a lot of interviews. We're trying to get him on later this week. But it is a, it looks like I'm hopeful that we're going to have some release of the hostages this week. But tell us about what you're doing tomorrow night.
So tomorrow night, we're going to have a second event commemorating October 7th, remembering October 7th, one of the most consequential days that I've ever experienced in my life. Just, not being so surprised by a terrorist attack and then the consequences that have followed from that. And so tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Grove Street Station, we're going to have an event much similar to last year, which you attended, Martha, and thank you for coming to that. We're going to commemorate October 7th, talk about, where we go from here, and hopefully I'm holding my breath that maybe we'll have some good news by that time about the release of the last 48 that are still in Gaza. But I'm not counting my chickens till they hatch.
Yeah, me neither, but it looks like it's going in the right direction. Also, Qatar has, they own Al Jazeera, and, I have reservations about Qatar because they kind of work on both sides of the fence, and but they have put the clamps down on Al Jazeera about how they're covering things, which is evidently part of the deal that Trump made with this 20-point deal, that there's got to be more support from the Arab world in certain areas. And so, we're seeing for the first time a deal with big Arab partners that we've never seen speak about this issue before. So I feel cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic is the right phrasing of this. I've heard it before, but I do think President Trump has really done a great job of, putting the spotlight on this issue, and hopefully we'll get the right people involved and get these folks home, and then I can take this memorial down and bring us back to a place of some peace. But I appreciate all of you all's spotlight on the memorial on this issue. I think it's very important that we continue to talk about this in America. I think not only is this Israel's problem, but this is our problem. This is a problem of terrorism, and we need to keep a spotlight on this type of terrorism and basically make a statement that this should have no place in our society. So I thank you, Martha.
Absolutely. Thanks, Joey. And I will see you tomorrow night.
See you then, Martha. Thank you.
Thank you. And, just continue to make the contrast. The events being held by so-called pro-Palestinian people around the world are violent. They tear up property. They go after people. And the protests that are being held by people that are supporting Israel are peaceful and are out there where they are just protesting in favor of something. All you got to do is look at that and know what side you're on. We'll be back.
Shorkey Gainesville Kia welcomes you to celebrate the grand opening of our new location all month long. Join us for special events every Saturday in October and grand opening offers you can't miss. Bring the family and check out our brand new state-of-the-art dealership and service center. Plus, enjoy food trucks and entertainment for everyone. Visit us today and join the party at 2359 Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville. Your deal, your way. What a great day at Jim Shorkey Gainesville Kia.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things. Like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
All rise in Washington. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The Supreme Court is getting back into session, starting a new term today, and Fox's Doug Luzader reports.
Much of the president's agenda is on the line here, and let's start with tariffs. This is a huge one, as the Supreme Court will have to decide whether the president's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to invoke those tariffs is legal. Presidential power will also be tested when the justices consider if the president can fire the leaders of independent agencies.
One case the justices will not hear: Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. They just announced they won't consider her attempt to get a conviction thrown out in the Jeffrey Epstein case for her role luring underage girls into Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. Another potential Supreme Court case, the president's attempt to deploy National Guard troops to Portland to deal with protests against immigration raids. A federal judge blocked it. California Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, cheered that on X, writing Trump's abuse of power won't stand. But Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin just told Fox.
These leaders, or these lack of leaders, are aiding and abetting domestic terrorists who are attacking law enforcement and attacking the public.
Hundreds of thousands of federal workers remain off the job, and at the Senate, Fox's Chad Pergram reports.
Another day, another set of votes, and likely the same outcome. Democrats insist they will not vote to reopen the government unless there is an extension of Obamacare subsidies. They're set to expire soon.
Israel and Hamas are talking today indirectly in Egypt, considering President Trump's ceasefire plan for Gaza that would free all the remaining hostages. He told reporters yesterday.
The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others, have had great meetings with Hamas. And it looks like it's working.
On Truth Social this morning, the president touted tariff revenue, low inflation, and stock market records, though the Dow is falling from its all-time high this morning, down over 200 points. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A mobile home is destroyed by fire Sunday afternoon in Hall County. Fire rescue crews responded to the 5300 block of Waterwood Drive to find a home fully involved in flames at around 4:30 p.m. Department says the flames were extinguished quickly, but the home was declared a total loss. Cause remains under investigation with the Hall County Fire Marshal's office. No injuries were reported. For the first time in a half century, White County's city of Cleveland has a new home for their fire department staff and equipment. WDUN's Logan Landers explains.
Dozens of city officials and members of Cleveland's fire department were on hand Friday morning for the grand opening of the new fire station and the traditional push-in of their fire trucks and apparatus during the opening ceremonies. Interim Fire Chief Bo Medlock and Mayor Josh Turner led the traditional grand opening ceremonies to open the new fire station on East Underwood Street. Cleveland's new station has a training room, sleep quarters, as well as kitchen and office areas to accompany the 4 bays that will host their fire department vehicles.
One area school district says that it's celebrating its students for their 2025 SAT scores average. WDUN's Lawson Smith with details.
The Hall County School District announced on Wednesday that its students achieved an average SAT score of 1043 in 2025. The score surpassed the national average of 996 and the state average of 1029. HCSD also said that it has an increase in participation in the test, with 767 seniors taking the SAT in the district this year.
And Hall County Sheriff's Office recently received a grant for heavier traffic enforcement. More from WDUN's William Daughtry.
The Georgia Governor's Office of Highway Safety recently awarded 26 law enforcement agencies grant money for highway enforcement of aggressive traffic, or HEAT. Hall County received over $127,000 to develop and implement strategies to reduce crashes caused by aggressive driving behaviors. The stated goal of HEAT is to combat crashes, injuries, and fatalities caused by impaired driving and speeding, while also educating the public about traffic safety and the dangers of DUI.
And you'll find more news by going online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN forecast from meteorologist Holly Strano.
Monday greetings, North Georgia. Looks like we're going to see lots of cloud cover today. Highs will be in the mid-70s this afternoon, so pleasant and dry. So really no issues expected. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
Right now in Winder, currently overcast and 69 degrees, clouds in Clayton and 66 degrees, and in Gainesville, 68 degrees. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Have you ever been at your wit's end over your community? Hi, this is Whit Martin, pastor of Asbury Chapel. There are plenty of ups and downs in a community. But as God's people, we have a command in Jeremiah 29:7 that tells us to seek the peace and prosperity of the city, to pray to God for it, because if the city prospers, then the people will prosper. I want to encourage us today to truly look for ways to be a blessing to the community. The best way is to offer the truth of Jesus Christ to any and all, so that the change He brings can transform the place we live into a place that reflects the kingdom of God. Many of us know the Lord's Prayer, praying, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." If our prayers and our efforts are aimed at God's kingdom making a difference here, what goodness and grace there can be for us all. And that is Wits End. Asbury Chapel invites you to learn more by joining us for worship on Sundays at 10 a.m. Visit asburychapel.net for more information.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
I just wanted to know, where are you from?
Texas.
From America, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, when was America great for us black people?
Right now? Tell you it's great right now?
Really?
Yeah. It ain't great for you?
No, not at all.
How?
I mean, I'm living life.
Looking good. You got clothes on. Look well fed.
But that doesn't mean
got
it's great.
beautiful hair.
Oh, thank you.
Got your eyeliner on. You looking good. What kind of bag is that? That's a nice little bag there. You look good. America look good for you. If you were eating out of a trash can, I'll tell you something different. America's a great place. I don't understand how we are not acknowledging that. It's great. Look at all these different people out here. Men, women, black, white. You will never see this much diversity anywhere else. It's the greatest place on earth. Everybody can be here and enjoy one another, disagree with each other. We have the freedom of speech, freedom to keep and bear arms. We don't have to worry about the government interfering in our lives for the most part. It's the greatest country ever. And if we don't start acknowledging that, we're going to screw up something good.
So that's Brandon Tatum, who is a person who worked with Charlie Kirk. And I just love that audio because it is, in a nutshell, yes, that was a black man and a black woman speaking. But America is the greatest country that was ever made in this world. And we are going to lose it if we don't get the right people in office and if we don't get the right people making decisions for us. Because we are a representative democracy. So this is why I'm so committed to bringing candidates in from all different backgrounds, different parties. I invite every single candidate to come on. Okay. Today we've got Greg Poole. Greg Poole is running for Congress in the 9th District. He's also a Hall County Commissioner. He was kind of a really surprise win for Hall County Commission. He was never surprised, but I think politicos were surprised. I think he knew he was going to win. And so he's coming in today, and we're going to talk about his run for Congress. Greg, how are you?
Awesome. Good to be here.
And Greg Poole with 2 G's.
Yes.
That's right. You want to get that right. 2 G's and an E on the end of Poole.
Right.
That's right. So first of all, tell us why you decided to run for Congress.
Nobody should ever vote for me for the reason why I'm running. I want to say that because people say you use this to get votes. I'm running because I believe that this is exactly what the Lord wants me to do. I'm stuck. I'm a Baptist pastor, ordained Baptist pastor, and I'm stuck and I can't move 1 inch until I do this. And I hate being stuck. I can't move on, so I'm more afraid of winning than I am losing. Losing don't bother me one bit, and I have realized this, that not being afraid to lose, they hate you when you're not afraid to lose. I'm like a missile. I'm locked on, and I'm ready to roll.
You know, and I can relate to that. I ran for Congress in 2012, and I wanted to win. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I wanted to win. But I am thankful in a way that I didn't, because it opened up so many doors for me. And my husband had cancer twice after I lost that election. And if I had been a congresswoman, then something would have suffered in my family, you know. And so I knew God had a plan for me.
Right.
And the lesson I learned, which I've been taught a few times in my life, is that I cannot do things on my timetable.
Right.
I have to do it on God's timetable.
Right. One of the things that one of the people I've met in my time as a commissioner, and he's probably one of the best people I've ever talked to, Dave Wills. He's head of ACCG. He said, sometimes you win when you lose. Now, let me tell the voters out there, I plan on winning. and I actually think I am the 9th District. It says it on my card, I am the 9th District. Of all the declared candidates, nobody is the 9th District more than I am. I am exactly what people think of when they think of the 9th District. They think of a Christian conservative. I don't think you're going to find nobody that represents our core values. This is the Bible Belt. We're one of the last few Bible belts in the United States. And I'm telling you, if you want your Christian core values represented, I'm the only candidate that will represent your Christian core value. I'm not saying that slinging mud at nobody. I just know who I am. I know what I stand on. I know what I stand for on a daily basis as a Hall County Commissioner, and I can tell you, I've been in these meetings with these people, and I'm telling you, I'm the only one on the table standing up for the nuclear family. I'm the only one standing up for our Christian values. I'm the only one that is truly a conservative in the conservative sense. I fit that description. Honestly, I feel like a unicorn in this.
So tell us what you've learned so far since you've announced, because I'm sure you've been, and we'll talk about Hall County in a minute, because you've done a lot of great stuff here in Hall County. But how has it been getting out and campaigning, and what have you learned as you've done it?
I've learned that most people that are of the political world are saying, what are you doing? Because, this sounds... they know that I'm the voice of the people. I'm running for my mama. She's 81 years old. I'm running for my granddaughter. I love my grandbaby. I'm running for working class families that can't afford a home right now. I believe it's the biggest threat to our way of life is young people do not have the chance that me and you had now because housing price has outgrown the price of their wages. So it's a threat to our way of life. They're wanting to turn our young people into renters. Look around Gainesville, Hall County, 9th District. Apartments going up everywhere, and they're saying, well, this is all they can afford. Well, number one, for us to say that and not say, let's do something about it, is insanity. We don't want to be a renter district. We don't want the 9th District to be a slave to this kind of mentality. I think it's insanity that we're not addressing this. And the Trump administration has said that they were going to declare an emergency housing affordability. It's not that we don't have enough houses, it's that we don't have enough affordable starter houses. And it's starter homes. People used to get married and go to a starter home, migrate up to another when they got their wages up. We don't even have starter homes no more. We're trying to flood the zone with houses at $450,000 to $500,000 that nobody qualifies for that loan except maybe the 1%.
So there was a little neighborhood around the corner here that was being built, and I think it was mostly cluster homes, okay? But a friend of mine that was developing it, their intention was to have $300,000 homes, okay? Which still to me sounds crazy, okay? And they ended up, by the time they finished them, selling them all for $440,000. That's what the market brought on that. But it's true. I have, just in my children, okay, where I have 3 children that are from 39 to 43, okay? And then my youngest child is going to be 34 next month, okay? Just the difference in how they're able to do things. My older children, they've each had a couple of houses. They've done the traditional thing. You know, you get married, you have a kid or a couple, 3 kids, you buy a house, then you buy a better house. They've all been able to do that. My daughter that is going to be 34, she's doing fine. But, I mean, she's a budgeter. She's doing everything right, you know, all of that. But they've got a very substantial down payment saved, and it is still not enough to get a house that they can afford.
$450,000 starter home, you got to have $90,000 down payment. You're going to have 20% down. And I'm telling you, imagine.
And then you still have a $300,000 mortgage.
And then you still have to pay rent while you're saving, which is $1,600 to $2,000 a month. You still got to pay your car payment, which cars are elevated with the interest rates higher. So the cost of living is through the roof. And then imagine trying to save so you can live the American dream. And for us not to address that, for our representatives not to done be talking about it, to me says, I don't want nobody talking for me no more.
If, say you get elected, what can you do as one of 435?
Be an agitator. Be somebody that will at least come to the table and say, hey, all right, we've talked about everything else. Number one of the things that is shocking to me, the 10 nations, as when it comes to defense spending, the top 10 spenders in the world, we're number one, and we spend as much as the other 9 combined, almost, except for about I think it was $500 million or $10 billion. And of those other 9, 6 of them are our allies. So we're spending that much money on national defense. And you say you're against national defense. No, I'm for it. But I want to know why we're spending more than the other 10 countries.
But here's something I'll get you to think about that, okay? In 1960, 27% of the budget was spent on defense. 27%. Now it's 4%. Okay, so as a percentage of the total budget, it's actually less than what it was in 1960. Now, what's happened is entitlement programs. So in 1960, you didn't have Medicare. You didn't have, you had Social Security, and I don't consider that because you fund that yourself. Do you know what I mean? But Medicare, 45% of Medicare comes from the general budget. It doesn't come from the taxes you and I pay.
Right.
It comes from the general budget. So there's about 3/4 of the budget is on automatic pilot. Okay, because it's Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt, federal pension, and there's one other that I always forget. There's 5 things that are on automatic pilot that we don't even look at. Okay, so out of $7 trillion or $6.5 trillion, $4 trillion of it just goes no matter what we do. And we've got to put all of that on the table, all of it. And defense is half of what's left to spend.
I want to look at all of it.
All of it.
I want to look at all
I'm sorry,
of it.
I didn't mean to get, but that's like I'm passionate about that.
I like that you like that.
Yeah.
It makes me look calm. You're helping me. I love that. But one of the things that we've done as a Howell County Commissioner, we found where money's being spent. I mean, we talk about Dogen or things like that. In Howell County, we have constantly for 2 years. One good thing about that, we look at our budgets and all that. And I just think that it's one of the things that needs to be talked about. I think one of the things that we talked about here in Howell County, we're addressing the affordable issue. One of the things we're going to do is hope to do with this pause or moratorium, whatever you want to call it, is put a sunset on these zonings, because you'd have speculators coming in, buying tracts of land, and then when they get them zoned, they just sit on them and they'd sell them. It's like they're buying something because they know they'd raise the land price up. So when we do the sunset, 18 months, a year and a half, then it'll come back and down zone if they hadn't stuck that shovel in the ground, if they hadn't got that LDP process started. Then that way, you're going to see a lot of only serious builders come in doing these projects, because then they know that it's just not a spec. We just can't keep flipping this property.
So if you're elected and you take office, and this is gonna be a question that's gonna get you in trouble, but I'm gonna ask you. Social Security has got to be dealt with. Okay, right now, for me, I'm 67 in 10 months when I can start drawing. And then it goes up to 67.
You don't look 67.
Thank you. I'm 66, actually, but I can start drawing.
You don't look 66.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My husband takes very good care of me. But right now, people stop paying Social Security tax when they get to $176,000 a year. It doesn't go all the way up. I think that ought to be changed, number one. And I think, and I know this is going to blow people up, they ought to make the ages 70. Because we're all living longer, not for people 50 and over. People 50 and over have been paying in their whole lives. You shouldn't change the rules. But we've got to do something about these benefits. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I have never dove into those numbers to look at them. So for me to make an intelligent conversation about this, you'd say, well, he don't know what he's talking about. One of the things when I think of Social Security that worries me right now is the amount. I think about this, and I may be wrong, the amount of people, illegal immigrants, whomever, whatever country they're from, that may be acting like they're legal citizens, and they're paying into Social Security now, that are never going to be a burden to it, but yet they're helping fund it. So if they remove all these people from the country, that are helping fund Social Security that are never going to be a burden when you take that funding avenue away. And then yet, here we are, we're going to have to do more heavy lifting, us, the taxpayer, because we're actually taking away something that's helping fund it that is never going to be there to be a recipient of it.
So we're going to take a break. Can you stay one more segment?
I'd love to stay
okay.
forever.
So, well, you can't do that, but we'll take a break and then we'll be back.
Everyone wants to live a rich life, especially in retirement. Join Rich Life advisor Bo Henderson for the Rich Life Retirement Show, where the math shows you the path. Sundays at 12:35 on WDUN.
Hello, I'm Greg Beadles, president of your Atlanta Falcons and also proud supporter of Eagle Ranch. My family and the Falcons have been involved with the ranch for many years. Eagle Ranch has expanded its services to meet the increased needs in our community, to include outpatient counseling, a day school program, a residential program, and other therapeutic services that are both affordable and accessible. Learn more at eagleranch.org. That's eagleranch.org.
Fall is almost here, and Farmers Exchange is geared up and ready. Whether you're planting food plots, overseeding your lawn, or prepping with the right fertilizer, we've got everything you need for a successful season. Just like our hometown football team, Farmers Exchange is built on hard work, dedication, and delivering results. Score big this season. Shop Farmers Exchange, where every customer is part of a winning team.
Hey there, it's Cody Lovin, owner of Crawlspace Medic. Is your crawlspace giving you trouble? Maybe it's moisture, structural issues, or even foul odors? Don't worry, my team and I, we've seen it all. At Crawlspace Medic, we specialize in crawlspace repairs, encapsulations, and basement waterproofing, ensuring your home's foundation stays solid and protected. We're all about delivering top-notch service you can trust with solutions that last. Give me a call at 706-410-2400 or visit crawlspacemedic.com for a free evaluation.
Hey, Corey, I got a little quiz for you. When was gas about 30 cents a gallon? And when did Arnold Palmer win his first Masters?
Let me take a guess. 1958.
Oh, you read that just perfectly, Corey. I appreciate that. And the best thing of all, Dad and I started an electronic sales company in 1958. I was the gopher and he was the thinker.
One thing I have learned to appreciate more is in this day and age where AI is important, the credence you give to having a live person answer the phone and say, "May I help the person?"
AI is a good technology that we've embraced in our cameras, access controls, burglar alarms, fire alarms. It has a place, but may I is just as important. They want somebody caring about their problems.
So please give us a call at 770-532-3334 and look us up online at electronicsalesco.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Hall County Sheriff's Office recently received more than $125,000 in grants for traffic enforcement efforts. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
We've heard a lot over the last 2 years, really over the last few months, that this is a genocide, which I obviously strongly dispute. But I think the first moral obligation for anyone who has been calling this a genocide for the last 2 years is there's now an opportunity to stop, to quote unquote stop the genocide. So why anyone is not rushing to embrace the deal that would quote unquote stop the genocide, to me reveals that you were never serious that this was a genocide. It was just a political argument to use against.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. We're here with Greg Poole, and he is running for Congress. It's gregpoole.com. That's GREGGPOOLE. You're not a traditional Republican. You're a conservative, okay? But you've got some ideas that people are going to push back on. And we had a call from Lula asking you to explain your view as to why immigrants should get Social Security.
I didn't say they should. I said if they're legal, they should get it.
If they're legal, they should get it.
Yes, I've never said they should get it. I said I'm worried about when you take the illegal immigrants that are help fund Social Security, we're going to be in trouble as a system, because that means the funding source, if you take them out of it, those dollars are going to have to come from somewhere. I didn't say they should get it. If they're legal, they should. If you're a legal citizen, you should get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got, this one text message I think is more directed at me, so I'm not going to, I'll read it afterwards. Let me just see what some things are going on here on some different issues. What do you think will be what'll set you apart from the other candidates in the race? Because it looks like there'll be three. There'll be the incumbent, and there'll be Sam Kuvion, the mayor of Gainesville, and you. What sets you apart?
I believe I'm going to have the voice. You'll be able to look at my, and everybody, when we take money from people as donors and all, they're your handlers, or your donor base, or whatever you want to call that. My base will be more grassroots. My base will be more leaning toward everyday working class people. My base will be the church more than anything. My base will be as Christian based as you can get it. I mean, it's who I am. It's what I am. The greatest thing that ever happened to me was when the Lord saved me. Second greatest thing is when I got my wife to marry me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If everyone knowed that on my first date, I totaled her car on her first date, and I still got her to marry me. So I'm a pretty good salesman.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right about that. That's a pretty good salesman. So, if people want to help you with your campaign, how can they do that?
They can go to Greg Poole for U.S. Congress, or www.gregpoole.com, and there's a give side on there. And I'm terrible at asking people for money. I mean, and I'm a Baptist preacher. You'd think I'd be good at this, but I'm really terrible at this. I'm mainly asking people for their vote. I mean, I want to win. I want to win for our 9th district. I want to win for our county, our people. I grew up doing this here, and I've just always been a construction worker. The Lord's been good to me. I started a business. He's been exceptionally gracious to me. Helped my family, got my family back right. Everybody that knows me knows what I'm talking about. I mean, he's given me a granddaughter now. I mean, my family he has been amazing to me. I can't ask for nothing else. I am the 9th district.
Greg Poole. It's gregpoole.com if you want to know more about him. Lots more to come.
What if I'm survived by a child or a grandchild with special needs? How can I provide for them after I'm gone? This is Kevin Tharp, elder law and estate planning attorney, and I have over 35 years experience dealing with special needs situations. I can show you how to put together a plan that looks out for them when you no longer can. It's up to you, however, to make the first call. Visit my website, KevinTharp.com, and learn how to get help planning for your family's future.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah. Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
Tune in to 2 hours of local football fun with the Pick'em Show, coach interviews, game previews, and general mayhem. So join Bo, Caleb, Jeff, and Walker Thursday nights at 6 on AM 550 and FM 102.9, or video stream them on YouTube at Access WDUN Sports. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. The Senate prepared to hold a pair of test votes today on spending plans from Republicans and Democrats. Republicans need just 5 votes to move their plan to the desk of President Trump, ending the shutdown.
Democrats insist they will not vote to reopen the government unless there's an extension of Obamacare subsidies. They're set to expire soon. Americans are starting to feel the shutdown with national parks closing. They're also placing limits on visitors. Mass firings loom.
Fox's Chad program, a new year for the U.S. Supreme Court begins today. The justices will not hear the appeal filed by Ghislaine Maxwell, serving 20 years in federal prison for her role in a conspiracy with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein to sexually exploit and abuse multiple minor girls. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A mobile home is destroyed in a Sunday afternoon fire in Hall County as the county's fire rescue crews responded to 5300 block of Waterwood Drive to find a home fully involved in flames at around 4:30 p.m. The flames were extinguished quickly. The home, however, a total loss. No injuries reported. For the first time in a half-century, White County's City of Cleveland has a new home for their fire station. WDUN's Logan Landers explains.
Dozens of city officials and members of Cleveland's fire department were on hand Friday morning for the grand opening of the new fire station and the traditional push-in of their fire trucks and apparatus during the opening ceremonies. Interim Fire Chief Bo Medlock and Mayor Josh Turner led the traditional grand opening ceremonies to open the new fire station on East Underwood Street.
And a resident at Pruitt Health Limestone in Gainesville received the game ball from UGA's homecoming game against Kentucky on Saturday. Melinda Adams shares that receiving the honor is especially sentimental to her, as her father, Tommy Pierce, worked for the team under former head coach Wally Butts.
It is a great honor to be receiving that, and I feel like it's something that I'm doing for my dad.
Pruitt Health sponsors UGA's football team. More news online at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Monday greetings, North Georgia. Looks like we're going to see lots of cloud cover today. Highs will be in the mid-70s this afternoon, so pleasant and dry. So really no issues expected. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Suches, 64 degrees, Jefferson 69, and in Gainesville 68. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Innovation at Jackson EMC.
To me, innovation is taking technology and doing something new with it.
I'm working with a global company. We're helping them be able to reduce their carbon footprint through some of our programs.
Here at Jackson EMC, we embrace innovation, such as solar power, electric vehicle programs, energy-efficient right choice homes. Jackson EMC, innovation for today, innovation for tomorrow.
It's Mike Robertson of Oakwood Tire and More. As our name suggests, we can handle all your tire needs, but some have asked what we mean when we say and more. At Oakwood Tire, we're more than just tires. We also handle general repair. We handle alignments, brakes, AC service, suspension work. Speaking of suspension work, if you're looking to upgrade your ride, we can put tires, wheels, lift kit, anything like that on there. See us at www.oakwoodtire.com. Stop by at 3120 Atlanta Highway, where we're more than just tires.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
A conventional thing, a short stopgap funding measure. 24 pages in length, a clean CR tray, no Republican priorities or poison pills or gimmicks at all.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and, you know, I've told you guys you need to be calling. I checked with Senator Ossoff's office. His phones are fine. You need to be calling his Atlanta office. You need to be calling his D.C. office and telling he and Senator Warnock to vote yes for the clean CR. Joining me right now is Steve Moore. And Steve, we have this unique opportunity because everybody got a paycheck on October 1st. So nobody's done without anything yet as far as the federal government is concerned, even though they would like to make you think that they do. They have. But we've got to get this settled by the middle of the month. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this is much to do about not a poll that came out this morning that only about 6% of Americans this has impacted them very much. So most Americans are not. It doesn't really affect their lives too much. And look, these shutdowns are stupid. And I've lived through about 15 of them. Schumer, this is the Schumer shutdown. I said this on your show a month ago, didn't I? That
yes.
Schumer wanted to shut down the government to try to embarrass Trump. And, it's like the old parable about the guy who digs a ditch for his enemy to fall into, but he falls into it himself. So there's no question that Schumer is losing this fight. The public is not on his side. And so I don't think Trump is going to budge 1 inch, and nor should he. I think the worst outcome of all, Martha, would be if Trump caved in. Just so people understand, out of $80 trillion in future spending, the budget cuts $1.5 trillion out of $80 trillion. That's less than 2%. Okay, and so Schumer's saying no, and we're going to add another trillion. If Trump caves in, it's another $1.5 trillion of deficit spending.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
We can't do that. I mean, it's pathetic that Republicans want to only reduce $1.5 trillion. It's even more pathetic Democrats don't even want to do that.
So, I mean, there are a number of Senate races. I mean, Georgia's not the only one that's got a Democratic senator in a state that Trump won. And it seems like that the strategy ought to be to put pressure on those folks.
Yes.
David Bossie said that he thinks if we get to 59, that Rand Paul will come back over and be the 60th vote, and and we can get back on track again. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen, again, you and I have lived through a lot of these.
Yes,
I've been doing this since 1984. So it's always the side. So Republicans are completely united, right, on this, and the Democrats are the ones that are fractured. So Schumer lost 3 votes last week. But just so people understand, because sometimes it can be a little tricky. So it requires 60 votes to pass a budget out of the Senate, out of 60 out of 100.
Because you got to invoke cloture. You got to invoke cloture.
That's right, exactly.
That's right.
So that means that the minority party is holding this up, even though a majority. Now, I'm in favor of the filibuster and requiring 60 votes, but that means, so the last time we voted, Schumer lost 3 votes. I bet if they held a vote today, he'd lose a couple more. And once you start seeing that fall off, because the pressure is on the Democrats, I think it just starts an avalanche. So my anticipation is that within a week, the Democrats will fold and they'll come to the bargaining table and we'll get something resolved. But the worst outcome of all, folks, the worst outcome would be if Republicans caved in.
Yeah.
Because that means we've completely lost control of our budget.
So prior to Graham Rudman, we didn't have these government shutdowns. The understanding was, they happened, but the understanding was it would take a week or 2, maybe 3, and we'd get back together again, and there was no need to shut down the government. And since Graham Rudman also, we've only passed, 2 budgets in 46 years or something like that. It seems to me we need a different process, Steve.
Well, we do need to fix the budget process, but we need a balanced budget requirement.
Yes.
Requirement, and this budget doesn't even come anywhere near balancing the budget. So there are all sorts of things. The president needs the line item veto so he can get rid of extraneous spending. All of these things are. Why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on non-essential federal employees? We should downsize the government just like a business would if they were losing money. Now you may recall the longest shutdown we had was back in 1995-96 when Newt Gingrich was Speaker. You may recall this, and Bill Clinton was president, and they had a big fight over balancing the budget. And Newt, kind of lost the battle, but he won the war, because at the end of the day, Republicans did have to cave in to Bill Clinton. But guess what? We ended up with three or four balanced budgets.
Yes.
Only time we've done that in 50 years. So sometimes these fights are worth fighting about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to watch, because it kind of looks that I think they do have a vote scheduled for today. I've been encouraging my
if
list.
you get one or two, the thing to keep an eye on is if a couple more Democrats peel off, because if that happens, then it just starts to create an avalanche effect.
Yeah, they start getting pressure from their own group
That's
of five,
right.
however many it is.
But, I know our time is limited, but I'll just say this. The Democratic Party is now captive to the most left-wing interest groups in Washington. And they cannot even represent moderate groups, because the left has taken complete control of that party.
Well, and we saw it even this weekend at the Carter Lewis dinner, which is what replaced the Jefferson Jackson dinner for the Democratic Party here in Georgia, where people that buy a ticket to a dinner like that are activists, okay? Because people right now aren't buying tickets to dinners like that. And their answer to everything is oppose Trump more, which is not a strategy that's going to help them in any way, and really is a problem. And I've been trolling.
It doesn't help the country. It doesn't help the country.
Well, and I've been trolling.
Obstruct.
I've been trolling John Ossoff this morning, where I said, you really need some opposition from your left. I'd really like to see what would happen, because we'll see what happens there. But it should be fun. Well, listen, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, Martha. Have a great day.
Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Look, we got a little bit of a uproar over what Greg Poole had to say about Social Security, and a comment that I made. And I just want to be very clear. And this has been my position for 25 years, or not 25 years, for 15 years. We have got to do something to save Social Security. And I have kind of a three-prong approach to it. One is you ought to pay Social Security tax on all income, regardless of how much it is. Right now, it cuts off at $175,000. But you ought to be paying, it ought to be the same as Medicare, that you pay the payroll tax. I don't like the payroll tax, but that's how we fund it, on every dollar that you make. In Medicare, it ought to be the same way with Social Security. Okay, number one. Number two, I'm in the world where because I was born in 1959, I can draw full Social Security at 66 and 10 months. And then the year behind me is 67. Okay? I think that what has to happen is that for people, hear me, 50 and under, we change that draw date to 70. People are living longer, they're working longer, they're doing all this kind of stuff, okay? So, because we need to do something related to this. And I think it would work. And I always tell people, go and watch the Marco Rubio speech from 2011 at the Reagan Library. The problem is, it was a fantastic speech about what to do about Social Security and Medicare, as well as size of government. But Nancy Reagan fell that day, and that ended up being the story that came out of that day. So just want to be clear about that. Okay, we got a couple of messages, and I'm getting a lot of personal messages too, which I'll try to get to all of those, but they're coming in from all directions. Says Martha, wouldn't it be something if the government had invested our money we put in Social Security? Just simple interest account. Instead, they borrowed the money and never paid it back. Can you imagine if they had invested it for us, how much money there would be for our future and our kids? Then we pay taxes on that money also. That's from Tim. It's true. And George Bush got railroaded about saying just 2% ought to be invested. But if they had actually put it in a bonds or an interest-bearing account, getting 2 or 3% a year, can you imagine what you'd have? And really, it's a great lesson for how you ought to save money, is that from the first paycheck you get, you ought to put some money in savings for yourself. Because if you never get that first paycheck without the money that you saved, you'll never miss it. That's what a lot of people teach, is that what happens is we get that first paycheck, which, let's be honest, even though it's not much, it's the most money you've ever had at one time in your whole life. And you think, oh, I'm going to go out and buy a car. I'm going to go out and do this and do that. Instead, what you should have done is give 10% of it away, save 10% of it, and then live off what's left. If you had done that from your very first paycheck, you wouldn't need Social Security. But then Social Security takes it away from you. Josh from Flowery Branch says the problem of Chuck Schumer is that he's afraid of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He does not want to lose his leadership position. No, he doesn't want to lose his Senate seat. You're right, but it's even worse than what you say, Josh. He does not want to lose his Senate seat. Okay, I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to kind of sort through these other messages I've gotten and just see if any of them are duplicates or anything like that. Just because I want this, we have to have these discussions, folks. We cannot just say, no, we will not. That makes us no better than Democrats. If we just sit there and say, no, we're not going to do this, we're not even going to talk about it, how are we any better than they are? We'll be back.
It's the news that affects you and the talk that keeps you listening.
We'll continue on with additional discussions today as we stay engaged.
North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
For over 40 years, Eagle Ranch has helped thousands of children and families find healing and renewal. My name is John Shackelford, and I'm the Executive Director of Eagle Ranch. In 2021, our family felt a clear call to leave our life in Atlanta and come to steward the incredible legacy of the ranch into the future. The ranch continues to come alongside children and families through therapy, practical guidance, and resources, all anchored in the love of Christ. If you or someone you love needs the supportive, healing environment of Eagle Ranch, please encourage them to reach out to eagleranch.org.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we are here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
It doesn't matter if you're a homeowner or running a business, waste happens. Your go-to to make it go away? Waste Eliminator. They offer collection, disposal, recycling, and environmental services for business and home cleanout. Visit wasteeliminator.com. Click Order Dumpster, and before you know it, your dumpster is reporting for duty. Yep, it's that easy. Environmentally responsible and committed to customer service. It's Waste Eliminator. See them today at wasteeliminator.com.
Fall in Georgia is here. Cooler days, changing leaves, and plenty of outdoor projects. At Howard Brothers, they've got everything you need to tackle the season. From mowers and blowers to grills and gear, Howard's is your one-stop shop for work and play. Need parts or service? Their team is ready to serve you and keep your equipment running strong every season. This fall, make the most of your yard, your home, and your time with the trusted folks at Howard Brothers, proudly serving their communities for 70 years and counting.
Have you been driving 25 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone? Are your passengers concerned about your vision? Don't let glare at night or in the rain slow you down. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK, clear lens exchange, specialty lenses with laser cataract surgery, as well as contacts and designer glasses. Our doctors handle a wide variety of vision problems for people of all ages and are skilled at providing fantastic solutions. Come see why we're voted best in Hall County year after year. Advanced Eye Center, vision correction for all ages.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet Newsroom, Hall County School District celebrates their students' overall SAT scores, surpassing state and national averages. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN talk and text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. It's always so great. I forgot we don't have music in every bed anymore. Logan, I have to get used to that.
Oh, I'm the same way. Even behind the board here, I was like, oh, I don't have enough time to get everything queued up anymore. I have to be a little bit quicker.
Yeah, so if you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe at Access WDUN, and we hope that you'll watch us there. We also archive the shows there, and we look forward to, growing that part of our audience. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. Let's go to Steve in Gainesville. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself, Martha?
I'm great.
We keep talking about affordable housing. I've lived it. I've been building for years. 1,200, 1,400, 1,600, 1,800. They kept getting bigger and bigger every time we did a subdivision. So I would ask them. I said, "What's going on?" And the county said we wanted the house to bring in enough revenue to take care of the goods and services that they were getting from the county. That was their logic, and that's why they kept getting bigger and bigger to bring in more tax revenue. So now they're addressing it, but how they're addressing it is they're only doing 1,200 square foot houses for rental. These big corporations are turning them into rentals. So that little guy trying to do that first house, he can't do it because it's rental only.
Yeah, and I tell you, we need to. I mean, George Carlin famously, I will not say it the way George Carlin said it, that as the houses got bigger, it just became a place to store your stuff. And you don't sit out on the porch and get to know your neighbors anymore. I think we do need to have 1,200 to 1,500 square foot starter homes built for purchase. And I hear you. I hear the same thing that you do, that they want to do them just for rental. And that kind of started during the big economic crash that the Obama administration, it was an unintended consequence, that they had a lot of investment companies buy up all these houses that were empty to rent them so they wouldn't be empty, but then they didn't want to give them up for sale anymore. So it's a mess. It's a mess.
So the last one we did was Rosewood on Gaines Mill Road. That was in 2000.
Wow.
1,200 square foot house. That's been a long time ago.
That has been a long time ago.
And we sold them fast as we could build them.
Well, hopefully that we're going to get this under control again, because I think the people are going to rise up. Thank you for your call, Steve. And I don't mean rise up like revolution, but they're going to say to their elected officials, I think this election cycle, we're going to see, first of all, early voting for municipal elections starts on the 14th of October. Okay? So we're going to have early voting, and then we're going to have new municipal people in. And we're also going to have new PSC commissioners, which the role of the PSC in growth is really important also. But we've got to have a lot of things going on related to trying to get more growth in community like ours. And I don't mean necessarily I want it to get bigger or more busier or all that stuff, but we've got to transfer some of this rental living into first-time home buyers. And I think people are going to start rising up about that. Part of it is interest rates, no doubt about that. Part of it is interest rates. Part of it is some other things that are out of control. But there are lots of things that I think could be done and could be fixed. You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. So over the weekend, and I may call for that audio I was going to come in with, over the weekend, there was a episode dropped of Prince William talking to Eugene Levy on a show called The Reluctant Traveler. What was interesting about that is he completely bypassed the British press to do this. And it didn't go unnoticed that 2 weeks ago, Tim Cook was at the state dinner with Donald Trump, which Apple TV is what this came out on. Okay. And then the next day, the prince announced his Earthshot recipients. And what's great about the Earthshot Awards is he's not telling people they got to change their lives. He is trying to find more efficient ways of doing things within the kinds of lives that people want to live. So the big complaint about a lot of the climate change and environment stuff was that underdeveloped areas were saying, we want flushing toilets too. We want running water too. We want to be able to have transportation too. So what Earthshot tries to do is say, okay, how can we make all the things we want as humans to be the most efficient and the cleanest we can have in the area? So here's Eugene Levy just talking about this interview that he had with Prince William.
That's called a chapel, that large building there.
It is Prince William, actually.
When you were 13 to 18. So I was within a few miles of my grandparents.
So you would pop over from Eton?
Sometimes on weekends, sometimes if I could get away in the evening when there was nothing else going on, I'd come round and have a bit of tea with her because she had the best teas ever. So I used to get well fed. I'd come round and just have a chat with her and see how she was and just sort of, check in, see how she was doing, have a chat about family stuff, bit of work stuff, maybe sometimes about what was going on. Mostly just to tell stories, really, about what I was up to.
And you had a great relationship?
Yeah, I had a good relationship. My grandparents were of a different generation. I think when we were younger, it was harder to have that very close relationship because it was quite formal. But as they got older and I got older, it got warmer and warmer. And I definitely think my relationship was best with my grandparents when they were more in their sort of 80s, when they sort of relaxed a little bit. My grandfather was incredibly amusing, sometimes not deliberately, sometimes by accident.
Okay.
But we had a lot of laughs, and he had a great sense of humour, as did my grandmother as well, actually. But my grandfather definitely was the one who would create quite a few laughs. And it was, it was happy times. There was always a warmness, there was always a laughter, there was always a family feel. And my grandparents loved having the family around them. So we were always encouraged to turn up and be
What
around.
I find so interesting about this is who he's talking about is Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, who are like two of the most famous people in the world, which are his grandparents. And he also talked about how he had a happy home until his parents got divorced when he was 8. And he wanted to not make those mistakes and have a happy home for his children. And then he went on to talk about his grandparents. And what I took from that is his grandparents worked very hard to give as much happiness to him and his brother. And he did mention his brother once. It's one of only 2 times he's mentioned his brother since they left the monarchy. But he talked about how he and Harry had a very difficult time because of the way the paparazzi used to follow them around in the 90s, which was a lot worse than what they have to deal with. And it just was a wonderful, uplifting thing to watch. Of course, you knew I was going to watch it because I'm an Anglophile. But it was an uplifting thing, and it made you feel hopeful about the world in a time when it's really hard to find those hopeful stories about the world. Okay? And I think that I'm going to challenge all of you to do what I always say is vote, parent your children, and have a face-to-face conversation with someone. But also work harder to look for the good in life and to turn off the social media as much as possible. I'm going to turn mine off for the rest of the day, and that's going to be my practice from now on, is that after I get off the show, I'm not going to do social media. I'll do it when I get up to prep the show early in the morning, but I'm not going to expose myself to the cesspool any more than I have to. It is the Martha Zoller Show. We're always here